Hey, everybody. Our last episode. This is it. We're almost done. You guys have this. And then for you 10th graders, you're going to be doing rehearsal next week, and you'll be getting confirmed the week after that or the week following that one, depending on which one you're signed up for. So welcome to our very last episode of Coffee House for the 2020-2021 season of confirmation. That sounds weird. That's a mouthful. 2020, 2021. Anyway, if you don't know who I am, why are you watching this video? I mean, you should have been doing confirmation this whole year. You're probably sick of me by now, but my name is Ben. And with me this week is Fr Nick Hagen, who, is it 2 years now ordained a priest?
4 years ordained a priest.
4 years already?
We're cooking. It's great.
Holy cow.
It's flown by.
It does not seem like it's been that long.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh.
You're telling me.
I have known Fr Nick now for probably 5 or 6 years then.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Clearly I don't have a good enough recollection of how fast time has traveled since we met, but
I think time travels faster the more children you have, and so that
maybe that's what it is.
Accelerates, especially, I would think. So,
maybe that's what it is. That could do it. Anyway, Fr Nick and I have known each other since he was in seminary. And he is a good friend and has been over numerous times. We've been able to spend some good time with him and get to know him a lot. And I think he is the perfect person to come in tonight and talk to you guys about the saints. Now, this is a topic that, we hear a lot about saints, saint this, saint that. We attend St. Michael's Parish. Mm-hmm. Most parishes are named for a saint. Mm-hmm. You get the odd, kind of odd one out where you have the Holy Family or Epiphany or something of that sort, but most of them are named for a saint. Mm-hmm. So to begin with, to begin with, let's tell us about yourself, Fr Nick. That's what we should be starting with, is who are you and why,
Well, I'm here not because I'm a saint, Ben, actually yet, but hopefully in the making. No, I'm grew up in Chanhassen, southwest suburbs, so nearby. My first time to Prior Lake. This is a lovely place. The lake is lovely. Curving around there as I drove in, loving that. I pretty freshly ordained, as we said. I'm about 5 years into the priesthood here, and just learning the ropes on how that works. I went to college over at St. Thomas and St. Paul, did the seminary there, did 5 years over in Rome afterwards doing graduate work. And so I actually got to meet a lot of the stories of the saints there and really immersed in the saints over there. So I'm going to guess that might be part of why you asked me to talk a little bit about the saints, because they are pretty amazing, and my life's been shaped by them a lot. Ever since coming back from those graduate studies, I've been here working up in St. Paul, Minnesota at Nativity of Our Lord Catholic Church. And
one of those few non-saint parishes.
One of those few non-saint parishes. Although we say, Mary, she's the Queen of Saints, and she's, kind of tied in at the Nativity, so it's close enough. But
tied in, as well as Saint Joseph, who's was also present for that. So you've got a few of them.
We have a whole year for Saint Joseph, so we kind of claim some of the fame there too. So it's great.
Awesome. So to roll out, first thing we needed to do is discuss what is a saint. Because otherwise, why does it matter? If we don't know what a saint is, the rest of it's kind of pointless. So what exactly is a saint?
Great question. I'd look at it this way. First, what is not a saint? A saint is not someone who is perfect. That's the most important thing, I think, to get right off the bat. A saint is someone who actually lived the same life that we're living here on earth. A saint is not someone who's perfect. It's someone who has been perfected. And one of the saints, John Henry Newman, said that to be truly perfected means that you changed really often. So I look at that first as like, that's a lot of hope for me, is that it's someone who's like, I've changed a lot and need to change a lot. I think a lot of times we can have this image of the saints or those in like, the shiny armor, and, they're the warriors who finally, made it, and they lived this amazing life on earth, and now they're all shiny. Actually, I don't think any saint would actually say that to be saintly, to be holy means you have shiny armor. I like to tell them.
Probably means it's dinged and banged up a little bit.
I think it's pretty bloody.
Yeah.
It's pretty dinged up.
It's been through combat once or twice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important thing to keep in mind about the saints, is that's who it was. It was the people who fought hard while they were here to get to our homeland up in heaven. So when we're saying someone's a saint, we're basically saying we've gotten some indication that actually, yeah, they're in heaven. They ran the race and they made the goal. So that's the definition that I would use.
Yeah. So the being is you were in Rome and you were surrounded by saints. And I'm assuming there's a lot of Latin used while you were there.
Yeah, you had to like kind of decode it. It was like kind of the universal language for a lot of the time in the church. So it's like whenever people would be marching into Rome and traveling hundreds of miles to try and see all of these saints who are collected, a lot of the martyrs who died for the faith are buried there. And it was kind of the most universal of the languages they could have, so that, okay, even if you didn't quite know it, you could it's kind of like Spanish and kind of like French and kind of like Italian, so you could kind of figure it out.
Okay.
When you got there.
And as with most of our English words,
yes,
right, saint has a Latin root.
It does.
Do you know what that Latin root is?
I believe it is sanctus.
It is, or sancti?
Sancti, exactly,
sancti, right?
Yeah.
Sanctus is supposed to be the plural variation, right? Is that right?
Vice versa. Yes.
Oh,
sanctus is singular.
This is
Sancti
why he's here.
Is plural.
I am not a Latin expert.
Go.
Okay, so and what does the Latin root of that word actually mean?
It actually means holy. So when we say the holy, holy, holy in church is the Lord God of hosts, the sanctus, 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 you might say. That's what we're saying, is that they were holy. And again, like we said, holy doesn't mean perfect.
Right.
It means that they fought the fight.
I was just going to say that plays in perfectly this idea that saints are not perfect.
Yeah.
They're holy. There's a big difference between holy and perfect. Note that. Okay.
Exactly.
So a saint is one who is holy. A saint is one, I heard it put this way in one thing that I was seeing. A saint is one who uses their gifts and talents to serve God. And that's what makes you holy, is you use your gifts and talents to serve God. So we have a holy saint. So who can be a saint?
Great question. So first, maybe distinction to make. I like making distinctions. The difference between a canonized saint and a non-canonized saint. So a non-canonized saint would be the one who, anyone who gets to heaven, anyone who runs the race with Jesus and is saved by him, a sinner who gets saved. That's what any of the saints are, sinners who got saved by Jesus Christ. And so technically, any one of us, as we get to heaven, become a non-canonized saint. Now, what the church chooses to
Which is really the more important saint, right? That's the one that matters.
Honestly, I'll give you a little secret. Well, okay, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure not a single one of the saints actually cares that they were canonized. Basically, all they care about is that they were the non-canonized.
Yeah, they are an actual saint.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
the most important.
So what is the point of canonization then?
So in that case, when we canonize a saint, it's when the church takes someone and holds them up for a lot of people to see. It's kind of like putting them up high in a lighthouse so that we can say, guess what? If you're shooting for this, if you got to see, sometimes it seems like Christianity is complicated and complex and hard to imagine. And what am I supposed to do? And how am I supposed to live? What is Jesus actually inviting me to do? And I just need a good concrete example. That's usually how I am. I just need to see it.
Yeah.
Like, tell me how to, I can't, you can give me like the instruction manual on how to, change the oil. It's a lot easier if you just do it for me.
Or demonstrate how to do it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think the canonization process is to say, we want to name some of these saints that show us who we can all emulate, and we can trust that their life faithfully shows us what it's like to follow Jesus.
Right. So a saint is essentially a role model.
On one level, yes. I think they're more than just role models, but that's the main thing.
They're someone that, and I think if you're watching this and you've been through confirmation here at St. Mike's, you've heard me use this analogy before. But if you want to be an amazing basketball player, you're going to look at someone like Michael Jordan, and you're going to figure out, how did he become this player that he became, the best ever? Don't argue with me. best ever. That new guy got nothing on him. Anyway, if you want to be the best basketball player, you're gonna look at Michael Jordan. You're gonna learn how he did it. If you want to be the GOAT in the NFL, whether you actually believe he is or not, you're gonna have to study some Tom Brady film. That's just the thing.
As painful
right?
as that might be,
right? But I mean, the guy's won 7 Super Bowls. If you want to win a Super Bowl, who's going to do a better job of showing you how to win a Super Bowl than the guy who's done it 7 times?
I can't argue.
I'm just saying. If you wanted to be the best coach, you'd look at probably Bill Belichick, most rings of any coach in NFL history. So I mean, you look at the people who've done it, who've succeeded at what you're trying to accomplish. You figure out how they did it, and then you try to emulate within reason to what your gifts and skills are, what they did. Right. So your gifts and skills aren't necessarily going to be identical to some of the saints that you're going to look at and that are going to inspire you, but they're going to give you a basic layout of how to get where you're trying to go.
And I love that point you made, that my skills might not exactly match it, because honestly, for me, when I'm thinking about role models that I'm in the saints that I love and I follow after, sometimes it's actually one that I'm weak at. So for instance, for my confirmation saint, I chose St. Paul. Brother St. Paul kind of chose me, actually, because I wanted more courage and I was desiring more courage in a certain sense, to have that kind of like just freedom to do whatever and go wherever and be wherever he is.
I love St. Paul. To me, is the ultimate rolls with the punches saint.
Rolling with the punches.
I mean, that guy just he had a plan. And when God changed the GPS on his plan, he just followed it. He didn't fight it. He didn't shipwreck. Okay, well, we're doing that again. I mean, how many times did he? Is it 3 times?
3 times
shipwrecked.
Like prison all the time.
Yeah, multiple times.
He had a lot of stints in jail.
Yeah.
Don't emulate that part.
Well, our illustrious auxiliary bishop has done a few stints in jail.
Did some stints in jail. That's true.
So for very good reasons, mind you. So, sometimes jail might be part of the plan. Just saying.
But not for the wrong reasons.
Right. Not for the wrong reasons.
Love it. So I would say this: role model plus. Saints are like great role models, but even more so, I see it as, especially going through confirmation, when there's that one who just chooses you and like, you're like, okay, I'm going through this and I need to know how to see God, and I need to know how to follow him, and what's the plan for my life. That's where saints are more than just role models. I think the saints especially reach out to us in friendship. Because here's the thing: role models are often absent from us. Role models can also sometimes just be our friends. And when saints reach in, though, you can trust that the saints always have the highest ideal. They share the deepest desires of our hearts. Like the saints, the closer we both get to Jesus, we will get closer to our saint friends, the ones who choose us. And that they're the ones who cheer us on, but not in a way that, like, sometimes, I don't know about you, sometimes when I'm with my friends, like, to be friends, I got to let a lot slide. You know, like when we're really good friends, sometimes I feel like, well, like I'm not going to challenge it too much, Sometimes my friends, we just fall into kind of the same old habits, I'm not saying friends aren't awesome, because friends also often challenge us as well.
Yes.
But a lot of times it can sometimes have that kind of give and take. The amazing thing about the saints is that they're beyond friend. They're the kind that both share everything with you, but they also will never, ever stop that like highest good that you were created for.
They'll never stop trying to pull you farther.
Yeah.
They'll never be satisfied with where you are. They'll always want you to grow and become more, which is what is necessary to accomplish anything in life, sainthood or anything else really, is you have to keep growing. You have to keep learning. You have to keep pushing forward, changing. Saints are people who change.
Yeah.
Right.
All the time.
So you need to always be open to change. And what is God calling? St. Paul's another great example how God changed his course all the time. All the time, God changed his course. My personal favorite, we'll talk about him. It's not like we haven't talked about him before, but we'll talk about him again in a little while. But St. John Paul II, and he's another one who went through a lot of different changes, and you can guarantee his life did not turn out the way he would have thought it would have turned out. It didn't go where he would have planned for it to go. But
it's true. But here's the cool thing, especially with confirmation saints, and this is so like they're the ones who they'll change with us, like they'll move through life. But what I've noticed, especially about my confirmation saint, St. Paul, and also St. Nicholas, my baptismal saint, that as I'm going forward, I'm realizing more and more how much God planned the adventure that they experienced and the adventure that I'm experiencing. So I say this, I had no idea really why I was choosing St. Paul. I kind of knew I wanted courage, but I didn't really know why. As time has gone on, after the fact of my confirmation in the year, it's not about beforehand, actually. It's more after the fact. As now I'm starting to see like the fact that I just randomly happened to be able to go to Malta where he was shipwrecked once. And I just randomly now all of a sudden got to like specialize in my life in the study of St. Paul. When I was sent over there to study the scriptures, I was especially studying St. Paul's letters for some reason. I didn't plan it that way. And with St. Nicholas, as I'm starting to I didn't even have any choice on that. I was just baptized Nicholas. That was just the way that my parents chose, right? And now all of a sudden I'm starting to see, okay, like all these different things that were stories of his life or things he was the patron of are now all of a sudden starting to reach back and draw me into his life. And like my life is starting to kind of in certain ways match his. And it's really cool to see. It's the way that God reminds me, guess what? I have a plan for you that you do not know yet. And that you're just learning what it is. So the cool thing about a confirmation saint is even if I don't exactly know why I'm choosing them and they're choosing me, I am going to be able to look back 20 years from now and see God's finger in my life and see that his plan for me actually knew exactly what he was doing. And that's one of the coolest things for me about confirmation saints specifically is that we don't know them ahead of time. We know them in the rear view mirror even more. And they become even better friends then because we share all this history together. Like there's someone who's been through all those twists and turns with me who knows me because God brought us together. That the closer we both get to Jesus's heart, the closer we actually get to each other. So that's kind of for the confirmation saint piece of it.
Yeah.
That's the part I really love about it.
Yeah. And just speaking to that really quick, I know many of you have already chosen your confirmation saint, but for those who have not, this would be a great time to start praying for an open heart and an open mind to hear any saints that might be reaching out to you. Because you really can have saints that choose you. And I really do think that most of the time, if you're not picking up on that, it might just be that you're not open to it, or you think that sounds kind of crazy or whatever. I know that was coming into the church as an adult who was very opposed to the idea of the saints when growing up and everything else. The idea of saints was a very hard thing for me to swallow. And I understood it intellectually. It made sense from an intellectual level, but it was very hard for me to fully buy into it in my heart. And so I had a really hard time with the whole saint thing, and I didn't even end up having a confirmation saint. However, a couple years after I was confirmed, one chose me. And I think it took that time for me to be open to actually hearing from him, and that was St. John Paul II.
Tell me more.
And I took a class of his, studying the writings and the teachings of St. John Paul II, a full semester of a graduate level class. We barely scratched the surface. I mean, there's just so much richness there. And just throughout that class, I just really started to feel a connection with him. And so now it's not exciting. It's not some random saint that nobody's ever heard of. He's like the cool saint to talk about at this particular time in history, but it's just that's who reached out to me, and I love it. And he is someone that I want to emulate, right? I mean, he lived such a life. The thing that stood out to me the most about him was that people, every time he'd go somewhere and he'd ride around the Pope Mobile, okay, people who were in the crowd, or even when he was giving a homily or something at the Vatican, or giving one of his talks at the Vatican, his weekly addresses, or anything that he would do, people who were there present would say that it looked like he was looking at them and into their soul. They'd be in this massive crowd, and he would look down from the balcony where he would give his talk, or he'd be looking out into the crowd from the Pope Mobile as it drove along the street, and people would say it was like he was looking into my soul. It was like he saw me for who I am, and he loved me. Never met him, never saw him again, but that was the sense that they got from him. So the idea that he could have that much impact on someone's life just driving by, I mean, that's Jesus working through you. That's the only explanation for that.
Yeah.
And so a huge desire to be able to have that, and to be able to let Jesus just exude in such a way that all I have to do is glance at somebody and they think, he sees me.
Yeah.
You know, that would be huge. Not that I'm ever going to be Pope, by the grace of God and for the good of the church, but
no comment. But isn't that so why? Like, that's exactly why this stuff matters.
Right.
That's why
Exactly.
the saints matter, right? Is that actually, this is why, like, confirmation saints are a thing, is because isn't that what we desire? Isn't it show how thirsty the world is to be seen, and to have, like, to be told that I actually have dignity, to be told that I'm worth noticing,
right,
that I'm being created for a purpose. And when we live our confirmation well, that means that we are able to give that confirmation to others. We're able to confirm that same dignity in anyone we meet, those we look at, those that God places in our path, those we marry one day, those we have that we're friends with, those we work with. We're able to confirm that dignity in them in the same way that the saints did. That's what the saints have and do and give. And even as you're talking, you got into Saint John Paul II because he gripped your heart in that way, and you saw something that, wait, that's what Jesus does in us and in me. Like, that's what I can do. It's pretty exciting. And maybe just a, pro tip on, for those maybe who haven't chosen their saint yet, two pro tips even. One, you said, like, you got to read a lot of his stuff.
Right.
That's one of the kind of the nice things. So if you're already chosen one and they don't have a lot of writings, no problem. Like, there's still probably a lot written about them.
Right. Which is another great way to get to know them a little bit.
But one way, if you haven't chosen one yet, perhaps even do the old Google Saints quotes, one that's actually said something or recorded even a book or something like that you can actually dive into throughout your years and move forward with through time, can often be a nice pro tip to get a little bit more of a fleshed, like, what is this? Who is this person?
Yeah.
So maybe a little pro tip, if there's a quote or something that a saint says that suddenly just soaks into your soul, and seems like it's like a seed planted that could grow in the future. Might be a way to just kind of to tell if there might be one reaching out to you. That'd be one pro tip I'd have. Like, if it's one who's maybe said something or has got some quotes that resonate. Second thing I'd say, pro tip, saints are connected to service. Saints are always connected to service. That's why, like, it's two of the huge pillars of preparing for confirmation are saints and service. And why is that? It's what you had said, that there's something about the way they serve another that is more than just they'd like to do good, right? It's something more than that. It's bigger than that. And forgive me if I just go on a little excursus here, because this is one of my favorite things about confirmation. All right. So you might remember, we're going to take a mini trip back, all the way back to Genesis, the first book of the Bible. When God first made Adam and Eve, he built this amazing garden for them, created all of creation, forms Adam, forms Eve, calls them to do what? To come and till the garden with me. I want you to work with me. God left creation unfinished. There was still more to be done. He built everything. He called it into existence, but then he gave a mission to Adam and Eve to work with him, right? And that's the call that he gave to grow and become like me, to become a creator like me. I want you to till the garden. I want you to create things. I want you to create the crops. I want you to name the animals. I want you to work in the arts and the sciences and build the world, just like we see as we continue to progress. That was his call to move forward and become like God. And that was his call, was to serve with him. Of course, Adam and Eve kind of got one little mini thing wrong was the problem. And that was that the evil one tempted them to say, oh, you want to be like God, don't you? Well, what do you have to do to be like God? You have to make it to the top. You have to hold all the power yourself, and anyone else is a threat. So to become God, you have to go up. You have to ascend. You have to go up and grasp the fruit yourself and possess it yourself. Lie. Straight up, bald-faced, 100% lie. Because the great secret that God hid from Adam and Eve was actually that, guess what? That's not true. To be like God is the exact opposite. God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He didn't reveal that to them yet. That was what he saved for when they were finished. And instead, to be like God means that the Father serves the Son serves the Father. They pour themselves out for the Holy Spirit, who pours themselves back out to them. Jesus, when he came, God the Son, who came down and became a human being, whoosh, all the way down. We just celebrated it on Holy Thursday. He came all the way down and started washing people's feet at Holy Thursday. He even washed Judas's, his betrayer's feet. He washed all of their feet. Why? Because he wanted to show Adam and Eve and us, their descendants, who often believe the same lie. It says, I got to be on the top. My whole life is filled with pressure of getting to the top. Instead, to be like God, to see him, to know what he's like, I actually have to serve. And that's why confirmation flips it around for us. And we actually train ourselves to look for God where he actually is. Not some pie in the sky God who's like the one way out there. I'm looking for the real God in reality. And he's the one who jumps down and washes people's feet. And so I actually want to become like God, which, as we're saying, to become holy, to be like the saints, to be little images of God, to be little Christs, which is another word for a Christian, that I run down to serve. And then I discover him. That's what the saints train us to do, because each and every one of the saints, without fail, all of them ran down to serve their God and others. That was their trajectory, that they could always, you could trust them to find God because that's where they're running. That's what confirmation gives us, these guides, these helps to run down and serve others. And that's what the saints encourage us to do. How are you going to pour out your life for others? And that's really the key, if you will, to why the saints and service go together. It's because we want to be like God. That's what we're built to be. God wants us to be like him. That wasn't a bad thing that Adam and Eve wanted to be like God. They just got it wrong about how to do it. How do we actually be like him? So that's my little excursus on why I believe that the saints and service and confirmation just go together so well, and what makes me so excited about having a friend who encourages me to go serve. So
right.
That's my little...
No, I love that. And as you're talking about the being like God and serving, I can only think about how, Christ and God serve each other, and how all of our vocations are designed around that, are designed around serving another. Whether your vocation is that of a priest and you take your holy orders, your whole purpose for existence now is to serve the people of the church. and in doing so, serve God. As a husband, my whole purpose now is to serve my wife, whether that's by making an income so that we can provide for our family, put a roof over our head and food in our mouths, whether it's serving her by giving her a massage when she has really sore shoulders, or other simple little things, taking the trash out, serving her by watching the kids so she can go get a break because she's had 2 toddlers chasing her around all day. It's simple little things. We think that it's this complicated task, but it's really not. It's not easy, but it's straightforward. It's very simplistic in its layout and its concept. It's a little more complicated in its why can't I think? In doing it. Yeah, it's a little more complicated in the actual doing it, but you become a saint by serving, and that's why our vocations are designed around making us saints. If we live out our vocation, using our talents and gifts to serve those God brings into our lives, and then in doing so, serving God, we will be saints. If that is our goal, if that is what we are striving for every single day, then that is where we're going to end up, is as saints. And that's what all of us should be striving for. Every single one of us should be striving for that, which means if we are, we should also have an open mind and an open heart to when God says, okay, this is something about your life that you need to make some adjustments to. And we should have opened with this, but happy Easter.
Yes.
I mean, right now we're recording this in the Easter octave. So yay. This is when you guys are watching this, it's still Easter. By the time this thing goes up and you guys are watching this, it's still going to be Easter. Little do people know, Easter is not Easter Sunday. That is the beginning of Easter. And it goes for weeks after that up until Pentecost. So we have a nice long celebration of Easter. And but coming out of Lent, that is a prime time to go through changes. That is what that time is for, is to really sink into sacrificing for God, serving others, and being open to what God has for you to make changes in your life and where he wants to show you to go a different direction, or how you can improve and draw closer to him. So,
yeah. I love, like, you're talking about how, it's a simple thing, but it does require us that we change. We're on an adventure. We're on a journey. We're going somewhere. And I guess it's important to remember that there is one saint above all saints. There is one queen of saints, she's known as, who sets the baseline, huge, big, foundational standard for how to be a saint. And that's, of course, kind of Jesus kept the best for himself. That's Mary, that she's the queen of them all. She's the one who gives us the clearest vision of what it means to be a disciple. And for Mary, there was a one-word answer to how to be a saint. That one-word answer was this cool little word called fiat. Fiat in Latin literally means let it be done. Let it be done to me according to your word, is what she told the angel. And so the cool thing about being a saint is that, yeah, like you said, it's a simple thing. I don't have to concoct some amazing saga of a story that is my life. Honestly, one thing that kind of freaks me out sometimes, Ben, is just how much anxiety, depression, concern about my life that's out there. And I think it kind of touches all of our hearts in one degree or another, in one way or another. And maybe some of the folks listening in today have experienced that and know what that pressure is to say, I make one false move and what's going to happen, or I just don't have that particular gift, whatever that particular gift is that's flashy for me that I need. And the anxiety that comes from needing to create a dramatic saga of my own life. And if I don't see that happening, what am I doing wrong? How do I change it? And it's real. I think that anxiety is something that's perhaps even growing. I would propose that there is one huge source for that. And I think that's huge. That central source is when I am at the center of my life.
Mm-hmm.
That if it's all up to me to create the saga of my life that I'll be remembered by, that'll make me a success story, that is pressure.
Mm-hmm.
That is intense. I've felt that whenever I fall into that trap. The saints show us like there has never been anyone more confident, free, to be dramatic, to be adventurous than the saints, because they're the ones who say, it actually, I'm not in the driver's seat. That there's someone who loves me and created me. There's someone who has a far more fascinating saga than I could ever dream up, who I have to say one word to, and that is fiat. Not for my whole life, for today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does he have planned for today? And if I say fiat to him today, let it be done to me as you say, then whether what happens today stinks, whether what happened today is amazing or some combination of the two and confusion and mixed in there, great. It's from him, and it has a chance to become a saint, that there's always a way forward with him. And that for me is what gives the confidence. That's why the saints for me are a consolation, not because they make me feel better, but because they draw me into not being the center of my life,
Mm-hmm.
which is just reality, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Which is tough because we live in a culture, in a world that tell us we should be the center of our own life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it gets us all confused on what success looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say that we don't have choices to make in order to be a success,
Mm-hmm.
but the question is what do you consider a success?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you consider success being insta-famous, then you're going to be making choices to accomplish that. Where if your idea of success is sainthood, then you're going to be making decisions pursuant to accomplish that.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing the whole time that even if you're wrong, as long as you're making the decision, the best decision you can at the time, trying to serve God, that he's going to honor that regardless. In that in many ways, there is no wrong decision if your goal is truly and honestly to follow God.
Yeah.
If that is the driving force behind the decisions that you make, Lord, I'm choosing this because I think it's what you want me to do to follow you. Even if it's the wrong thing, the wrong choice, the wrong decision, you should have done this instead of that.
Mm-hmm.
God's going to honor this just as much as he would have honored that, because your motivation and goal was to do this.
Yeah.
Now, sidebar, that does not mean sin in thinking that somehow that's what God wants you to do, because that is not going to happen.
But no, I look at it as yesterday, there was a gospel passage where we talked about Peter getting up in front of everybody. Actually, this was the first reading when Peter stood up, like right after Jesus rose from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts rambling on this like long speech to all these people. And honestly, and St. Peter's a saint, obviously, it was a terrible speech. Like if you like Toastmaster it and like see like it was a bad, like he started off by calling his listeners murderers, which is usually just not a good first step to kind of jump into your speech. So bad decision.
You bunch of killers.
Right.
You should listen to me.
Right. Bad decision. Probably not like the best way to go about it. Kind of figure Jesus face palming a little bit. And yet what happens is that it was St. Peter's example of even when I'm choosing, like, even when I'm weak, even when I'm not in working out of my gifts, God can still use my weakness to prove his power and to show his power. So that whether it's him showing his giftedness through whatever he wants to do in me, whatever gifts he's given me, and he wants to show what he can do in me to transform me from the inside out and wants to show that to the world, awesome. Or if he wants to show that, look, broken instruments, but I can use you anyway, and I can show you just how powerful I am, he does both. And he's able to work with both because he's the master and we're not, which is just better hands to be in.
And I mean, you look throughout scripture, you see broken people being used by God. That's what he does.
That's the story.
We have this bad habit of kind of putting them up on a pedestal and making them out to be something more than that. I don't know if you've seen the new series that's out. It's newish, I guess. Series, The Chosen.
Heard of it, yeah.
I think I've probably recommended it before, but I'm going to recommend it again. And the thing that I love about it the most is how it humanizes these people that we read about in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Saint Peter, Saint James, Saint Andrew, Saint Matthew, all these guys that we know about, that we've read about. We may not be able to name all 12 apostles, but we would recognize the name if we heard it, right? These people that, particularly the more famous ones that we know, that kind of live these lives that we think they're kind of up here. It just really makes you recognize these guys are just people that God works through. They're just people. And I love that about this series. It shows the humanity of the disciples. It shows the humanity of Christ, not that he makes any mistakes or sins in any way, but he's there, he's with them, he's present with them, he's human, and he makes jokes and he communicates, and it's a beautiful thing to just see the relationships that form. And it's just so well done. And obviously they take a few artistic licenses to expand the story a little bit, or they put their idea of, well, this is how we think this happened, because there's not as much detail necessarily in the gospel for the specifics of what took place there. But it's just beautifully, beautifully told. And just, I'm blown away by every single one that I see, every episode that I see. So I highly recommend you check out The Chosen, because I think it'll really bring the gospel to life a little bit more for you and help you to identify with some of these saints. And maybe if you haven't chosen a saint yet, you'll even look at one of them and go, oh, wow, that's me. I think that's my confirmation saint. Every time Peter in this comes up, my wife like elbows me, because it's like, that's something you'd do. So, and I've always kind of had that idea that I think me and Peter would get along pretty well. We'd kind of make the same stupid decisions on occasion, but I think, I'm thankful he's the one who got stuck with the first Pope role. I don't think I would have wanted to have to do that, but it's a lot.
To your point about humanity, though, Ben,
yes,
like just that letting the humanity of the saints shine forth. That's one of the things I love so much about the way that the church prays with the saints, or like the way that the way throughout the ages we've kind of we've passed on the saints, is we actually try to retain their humanness, their human story very clearly. And one of the ways we do that is through these things called relics. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Like, relics are the remains, the human remains of the saints. So basically, it might be their like bone or their flesh, like, or their hair, or like their actual human remains. They're people.
Yep. So for those who are wondering, real quick, we have an example here of this is a what's known as a first class relic. And I know it's going to be hard for you to see. It's really small inside this little thing, but is a bone fragment from St. Jude or St. Thaddeus. He was known by both names, but that is a piece of his bone. He was one of the 12 apostles. And that was a gift to my wife and I from a mutual friend of Father Nick's, Father Mark Paviglio, who is very generous in gifting us that. Though granted, I'm pretty sure he had a message behind it, because St. Jude is the patron saint of
lost causes.
Yeah, so that's right. A priest gave me a relic of the patron saint of lost causes. Anyway.
Passive aggressive saint humor. It happens.
Yeah, and you've all heard my wife speak, so I think we all know who the message was aimed at, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't her. Anyway.
But the cool thing is that's the humanity, right? It's like, they're human beings, right? And God did amazing things. We also, of course, record their miracles. And the reason that we canonize saints, so just quick outline of like how you become a saint or a canonized saint anyway. Yeah. How you become one is how we already were talking.
Yeah.
But to become a canonized saint, first is after you die, there's what's called a local cult. In other words, that locally, in the people who knew you, they tell your story. That there's a movement and an energy and a drive that the story starts to spread, and the story is drawing people to Jesus, and that like who they were and the actual human story of who they were is drawing people. And once the church kind of recognized that and formally opens the cause, it's called opening the cause for canonization. That means that the church recognizes that people are being drawn to Jesus through this story, through the facts of what God has done in this person's life, and they become what's called a servant of God. That's kind of the first step. Then what happens is a little bit longer, a little more time goes by, and if it's seen that story spreading is sustained and grows, and it continues, it doesn't stop. It's not just kind of, okay, people really love this person, but it's actually, wait, God keeps doing things even like into the future through this person's life. And the second thing that has to happen is that it's confirmed by a miracle, that actually God allows that person to pray for us here on earth, that there might be someone who's maybe sick, maybe there's someone who's in a rough spot, and God is asking for that saint, that servant of God, to pray for them, to say, hey, I need your help. Please pray for me to God if you're in heaven right now. And if that God grants that request, if God wants to show his love and his power through that person, that's when the next step happens. And a miracle is confirmed, that he allows a miracle to happen. That's when they become what's called beatified. That's the next step. And so that's again, it's that confirmation that we're just pointing out, hey, clearly God wants to show that he can do mighty things through us, and this person's in heaven. So once they're beatified, saying, yep, this person we've confirmed that this person has been allowed by God to do something incredible. The last step then is canonization, like we talked about already. And that final step is when they're held up for the universal church, for all Christians everywhere to look towards and say, this person is an authentic guidepost to following Jesus, that you can trust what this person said or did to draw you in and help follow Jesus better. And so that's kind of the ultimate, and that takes a second miracle to confirm, a second one that they want to be absolutely sure as they canonize. So the church doesn't make someone get to heaven by canonizing them. The church is just pointing out that, hey, yeah, we noticed this about this saint, that this has happened. These miracles have happened. So
and it is a very intense and in-depth process that takes years and years and oftentimes decades before it's completed. So many times, like the people that you would have maybe known well on earth, by the time it happens, they're gone too.
Right.
Because it takes so long for these things to happen. Your children might still be around if you had children or something like that, but it's a very long process. There is, however, a faster way to be canonized a saint.
That's true.
And that faster way to be canonized a saint is to be a martyr. Now, a martyr is someone who loses their life for the cause of the church or for the faith. They refuse to denounce their faith or something along those lines. They die because of their faith. They're killed for believing in God. And what happens when that happens is the church just shoves your soul into a cannon and launches it directly into heaven. And that's where the term canonization comes from.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
So there.
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. No, it's yeah. Precisely.
That's the fast track.
So that is a good fast track. So yeah, pray for that courage, because
you never know.
That's a nice, easy way.
Yeah. Easy way to canonization.
Yeah.
Be a martyr.
Yeah.
So, because that's what we're all worried about is, making it so we are canonized faster.
Right. That's the whole.
Because that's what matters. Anyway.
I want to go back to relics though.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep. We got a few minutes left. So.
Okay, good. So we talked about first class relics, like an actual bone fragment or something, like like we know the humanness here. We talked about miracles, like, okay, there's also like they're normal, regular people, but they're also extraordinary. Like God can and will do extraordinary things through ordinary people, whether that's while they're here on earth or after the fact. And that's kind of a neat thing to just keep in mind as we're discerning our own like call to follow Jesus, is that even if you think there is nothing that I could do here on earth at any point in time, I just don't have the potential to do an amazing, miraculous thing. Well, guess what? It might still happen after you're gone. that God can actually do it then too, just as much. And that's the crazy thing, is that some of these saints we only like discover 20 years after their death, that all of a sudden God is doing amazing thing and gracing people's life in the way that maybe this person just suffered well. I think of Saint Gianna, or Saint Chiara Petrio. She was a saint in Italy, and basically she was just a great mom. She died early from cancer, about 30. But the way she did it, the way she suffered, the way she carried her cross simply, serenely, normal person, like just was doing regular things. This was not that long ago. But after she was gone, her story and her face and her witness to anyone who knew her just kept growing, kept giving them the strength and power to keep turning back to Jesus. And so it was really after she was gone that all the miracles started to happen. And so that's kind of a neat invitation, is that we talked about the normalcy, but also the incredibleness of what God offers. And he does work those miracles. But here's the thing. Second step is that all in the way we use relics is not just to show that they were real human beings, but to share their story. So I think back when I was in basketball camp in middle school at St. Hubert's in Chanhassen, I got, for making a free throw, a Wally Zerbiak card that was signed. Like, wow. As much as you might love Michael Jordan, for me, Wally Zerbiak was the guy. So I got his card, and that basketball card was like, whatever, like it's not that big a deal, right? But the card had a connection. I can tell the story. I have a connection from me to my gym teacher who taught the camp. And that connection goes back to where he was at a Timberwolves game. And that connection goes back to where he got him to sign the card. And the connection goes all the way back. And it's an actual real story. There's a real chain that you can follow back. And so the cool thing about relics is that it's not just that, well, we got a bone fragment or we got something else, but that there's a story behind each one that connects us in a chain, that our faith comes through a chain of people who sacrificed themselves to pass on the good news of Jesus Christ. And that I'm part of that chain and I get to be linked into that chain. And that's what those relics really help us. So many relics have cool stories behind them as to how they actually came to the person. It's one of the coolest things about them.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's 3 different levels of relic. So we have the first class relic, which is actually a piece of the person, if you will, their physical form. So oftentimes it's going to be a piece of bone. That's the most common. There are some out there that are actually vials of blood that never coagulated. Now, if you don't understand, when you get a cut on your arm or something, it coagulates, and that's what forms the scab. It dries up so you stop bleeding, right? So when you die, your blood coagulates. If it's not in movement, if your heart is not pumping it through and it's not traveling through your body, eventually it will coagulate. And that's what happens in bodies that have passed, is they'll bleed out, but the blood will eventually dry. Where there are saints that their blood isn't dry, it's still liquid blood years and years and years later. One example of this is John Paul II has some liquid blood that's still out there, and there's an order of sisters that has one of these, and they travel around the country and they let people come venerate this relic of his blood. And I had the opportunity to meet some of those sisters and to be a part of that at another parish that I worked at. And so after I worked with those sisters, they gave me this, and again, it's gonna be hard to see, but down in this corner is a little piece of John Paul II's cassock, which at this point, I was already a big fan of John Paul II. And so you can imagine how excited I was to get a piece of his actual cassock that he wore. And that's a second class relic. So a second class relic is something that touched a saint or that they would have used or held while they were here living on earth. And then the other class of relic is a third class relic. And a third class relic is anything that's touched a first class relic, right? So and again, going to the story idea, and the concept of there being a story, this, as you should be able to see, is a child's nook. Okay,
Nookie is what I would call it.
Yeah, it's this is for newborns. It's a very small little nook, and this was my son's when he was first born, and he was 2 months old when we went to see John Paul II's first class relic, and we were standing there, we were praying in front of the relic. My wife, Isaiah, and myself. He was more being held than standing, really, but the sisters were praying for us. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he goes, and the nook falls down and lands directly on top of John Paul II's blood on the container it was in, not in the blood itself. But so that nook is now a third-class relic. So we can't, we leave it on the mantle now, and we don't use it anymore.
Or one way to venerate a relic is to kiss the corner of the relic. So I mean, pacifier is pretty close to allowing that to happen.
Lots of kissing.
But isn't that the very point?
It is.
That's the whole point, is that faith is reality. That faith is a real chain of connection of real people.
We are surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses, right? This group of people all around us that are pulling for us, even though they're not necessarily here with us anymore. That's what the church is. And we can get into different levels of the church as well. There's just so many different ways to go into this, but we are running out of time. So before we go, Father Nick, would you be willing to pray for us really quick?
Absolutely. Let's pray. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Holy Spirit, I ask that you come and fill all the rooms where we are right now, wherever it is we're listening in, that you come in your strength and your power, in your zeal, in your conviction to lay down our lives, to serve others, and in doing so, to serve you, our good God and Creator. All you saints, we ask that you pray for us, that you cheer us on, that you give us the power and strength to lay down our lives, because we get tired. It's hard. It's long. And we need the strength that comes from so many friends, from so many of those who we are connected to in that bond, that chain of faith, from person to person to person, going all the way back to our Savior, Jesus Christ, who rose from the dead for us. Jesus, we thank you for rising for us, for giving us new life, for grafting us into your body, the church, giving us so many brothers and sisters who we're connected to. May these, your young people, move forward as they open up their hearts to confirmation. Father, may you bless them abundantly in your great plan for their life. I pray all glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us this year. I look forward to seeing you if you're 10th graders, I look forward to seeing you at hopefully at rehearsal. If not, that'll be live streamed. You can watch that as well. But ultimately at your confirmation. And for those of you 9th graders, we'll see you next year. God bless everybody. See ya.
God bless.